Hello, everybody.
And welcome to Be, Do, Learn, Have, Live. The exciting video series from Wendy and I. This is Wendy and I'm Dave.
Hello.
And we are talking about gratitude this week.
Right. So a few weeks ago, we had a tornado come through our city, in a couple of spots actually, and one of them touched down about 3 or 4 blocks away from where we live. And the gratitude that we have about that is that we got off pretty much scot-free. Apart from losing our power for about 4 days, we were very lucky to not have any damage to our house, any damage to anything around us. And it was just rather amazing because the housing neighborhood further up where they got hit has had all the roofs ripped off and all the trees are gone. Could have been worse because there was no fatalities, but it was still pretty scary because we don't really get tornadoes up in Ottawa. So anything to add to that part particularly and what we lived through?
Yeah, well, certainly grateful that no one was actually hurt in the tornado, which is rather a surprise event for this area, as Wendy mentioned.
Yeah.
There were lots of houses that were damaged, trees uprooted, all that kind of stuff. So anybody who's in a tornado area probably appreciates all that a whole lot more than we do. But it was interesting to see that looking up our main strip that's been the same forever, that half of the telephone poles were all just kind of ripped right out, broken in half, and actually just suspended there by the wire. So it was a very interesting and surreal thing to see. And then as soon as I looked at that, I thought, okay, we're going to be without power for a few days at least. And so it was, a good 4.5 days or so before we saw power again, although there were patches of power that were coming back up. And it was surprising that with this small little cell of wind that it took out probably 1/10 of the city.
Oh yeah.
We had 185, well maybe even 20% of the city. It was getting
Electricity,
from an electricity standpoint for a period of time, not for too long. A lot of it came back up within the first day or two, but it was amazing how much of the city was actually affected. So we're very grateful, one, for having electricity and all the wonderful joys that it gives us, which in every day that goes by, typically I will understand it, appreciate it, but not really think about it a whole lot. It's there. Electricity is all around us. There's always the lights, there's power for this, that.
And it's only when it's not there
that you really
do appreciate it more.
That's right. So we certainly appreciate it. And even in this world where you're going, well, I don't need electricity. Everything I've got's battery powered. Well, I still have to charge my devices. Everything has to be plugged in and charged somewhere along the line. So that was interesting, going through a few days of actually living and charging it up, charging devices at work or at friends' houses or family and that sort of thing. So that was very much an interesting thing. And therefore, it's that you have gratitude for friends and family for helping out or offering to support us or do various other things during the time that we have our power, just because people that were within a mile or a kilometer of us.
Sorry.
Sorry. We've been attacked by a giant dog.
That's right, but the interesting thing is that we actually had a pretty damn good time too, because we had really nothing to sit and watch because we didn't really want to use our data plan, which we would have had to do, which we unfortunately did do one night because we were just like, our son was having surgery the next day and we just wanted to chill out and just do something that wasn't staring at a candle. But one night we sat and all listened to an audiobook that was already downloaded on Dave's phone, so that was really cool. So, we spent some time cooking in the gazebo. Our eldest son, just really lent into the whole experience and really was planning for it, like his C personality that he is, and he was trying to figure out meals and how to cook on the stove and which solar lights to work out and all that sort of thing. So it was great. So thank goodness for our solar lights, because we have solar lights in the garden and we thought, well, we can use those at night. So we put them in the lounge in the evening and we had a little bit of illumination as well as the candles. And it was just an interesting experience. It was inconvenient, but at the same time it was interesting, and we'll certainly remember it for sure.
Yeah, it was good how the family came together just working together and understanding that, okay, this is one of those things. And for us, I would say we even had the conversation that being of a more positive mindset now.
Oh, yes.
With all of us in the family actually made a huge deal of difference. Because
Absolutely.
rather than going, oh, we've got no power, what are we going to do? It was more of, okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, what's going on here? And maybe this is a time for us to have reflection, have thoughts of gratitude, be appreciative of each other, and just have the conversations of, hey, well, what have we learned? How can these messages, these quotes and things that have cropped up over the last few years, how do they play into how we're currently thinking, how we're acting, reacting, responding to the situation? And it was very cool, actually. I was very impressed with our kids and
Yeah, it was
even
actually a really
ourselves
good time. We didn't eat
just
very
gone
well,
through.
unfortunately. We that's the second night we decided to go and get pizza, just in the sort of neighborhood up from us, and we were the last ones to get any because they'd run out of dough. So that was a gratitude in itself, because we managed to get some. But normally we don't eat wheat products, or not because we're intolerant, we just choose not to, and so that screwed us up a bit. And then we just ate garbage really for the weekend because it's easier to cook that way. And our fridge, luckily we didn't have it, because we're pretty much vegetarian, so we don't have any meat in our fridge, which went off. We had to get rid of or cook up quickly. So we're actually pretty lucky with our fridge contents. We only throw out a few things actually, which is very grateful for.
all the greens.
all the greens.
All the greens, the spinach, no. It was interesting watching that, because we're figuring, okay, we'll be good for a day or two with the fridge as it is. We're not opening and closing it a whole lot, but after 4 days, okay, some stuff had to kind of go out, but luckily we didn't have a huge amounts in there. And
it was a good opportunity to clean my fridge and freezer out, which I never usually do, so that was even better. That's another gratitude experience right there.
But I was looking more on the fact of, as Wendy says, we were eating garbage food in this terms of things. It's amazing how much the world relies now on food that is stable, that will hang around forever, and how much you expect it. And as soon as you have real food that's going to go off and decay, that you're like, okay, now how can I eat? So that's why our diet was thrown out. It wasn't that anything's out. It's just most of the stuff we're getting now is fresh and home baked or whatever. Well, you can't bake if you don't have all the regular electricity to run the stoves and ovens and all that sort of stuff, and all the utensils for mixing. Well, you can, but that's not what we were set up for. And then thrown into it all of a sudden, it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it was interesting. It was good. I don't think we ate terribly badly, but you're at that point, we were as a family forced to more or less go, okay, let's concede and go out and find somewhere to buy. Well, the thing is, because so much of the city was affected, everybody living in those areas was going out. So you had to go really far to actually find somewhere that had some space or some decent food or anything.
That's true.
Because most of the restaurants around us didn't have power, so everybody was going to the next ones out.
Yeah, it was a very interesting experience, and one that we hope not to live again. There was an ice storm here in 1998, and the power was out for a few days, but apparently this was worse than that. So yeah, we've sort of lived through. Oh, and one other very interesting and ironic thing is that we have been through many gazebos in our years living in this house, and we've gone through a variety of costs of gazebos, and they all seem to be ripped up by the wind and thrown around or blown away or ripped or whatever. We bought a cheapest one ever back in April, May, which for $100, and it's still standing and it's still doing really well, and it's amazingly ironic that it's still there after all this nonsense. So anyway, a final update on this video then. Gratitude wise, we were very grateful that the power came back on early Tuesday morning, because actually we were taking our son for a pretty major surgery Tuesday morning, so it was nice to wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to get him to the hospital to see that the lights were back on again. So that was pretty cool. Excuse me, it was really cool. So that was awesome timing as well. So another huge gratitude moment. So. And
also on that front, grateful that the hospitals maintained their power, didn't go out and weren't affected at all, and so didn't throw the schedules off, which could have happened, because it's quite possible when there's some major incident going on that the hospitals, even though they're generally working, have the overflow and they put off regular surgeries that aren't required. So pretty awesomely grateful for that.
Yeah, so that's our sort of gratitude update or something that we'd like to have wanted to address, because it's very important to us, because gratitude is a huge thing for us in our lives. So that's a huge one actually. So I think we'll leave it there, and we're going to talk about routines on the next one. Excuse us, our dog's whining to go out. Routines and how interesting things get affected by a change in routine. So that's going to be the next video. Okay.
Yep.
And that's
all
it.
right. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.